This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
The biggest icon in podcasting.
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast. This is episode 173. I'm your host, Adam the Jock Strozinski. On today's show, big news about NXT and possibly a new landing place. We've got the insights and the details on that, as well as wrestlers and rappers getting into Twitter beef. What? Yeah, we're going to tell you all about that, too. We've got a huge weekend with Revolution right around the corner coming from AEW. You know, we're going to give you our predictions as well as the biggest topics and trends in wrestling. And doing it with me, as always, he's the one. He's the only. He is the one we call the Doc, John Macaroon. What's up, cuz?
Man, the big show. Paul Wight debuted on AEW. Shaq was there. And Paul Wight, I think, dropped the biggest news story of the week when he said a Hall of Fame caliber talent is about to sign with AEW and will debut, and we'll find out who it's going to be at Revolution. I can't wait, man. I'm kind of curious because he did say it's not who you think it is, so it's not going to be CM Punk, but I can't wait to see and to find out which talent is revealed to show up at Revolution.
But could it be CM Punk? I don't know. We're going to discuss it. We're going to get into it. It had me on the edge of my seat, and I was super pumped. I actually text messaged the girlfriend earlier today and was like, hey, just so you know, whatever we've got going on Sunday, we've got to be in front of the TV to watch this wrestling event. And she was like, it sounds like a plan, because she's totally into wrestling herself. Speaking of being totally into wrestling, we had SmackDown that's going to take place tonight. And we had SmackDown taking place last week. And the big news coming out of last week's SmackDown was who Bianca Belair chose for her WrestleMania opponent. And I don't know about you, but this was the clear-cut winner. This was the clear-cut choice. There couldn't have been anybody else. It had to be the one. It had to be the only. It had to be Sasha Banks. And because of that, I think there's some greater emphasis on this match now. I want to know what your expectations are for this match, because you've got two women who can tear the house down and can bring it inside that ring. Also, they do a fantastic job cutting promos. They've got the look, they've got the sound, and they've got the moves. So what are your expectations for WrestleMania between these two?
I expect that these two will tear the house down. And what was exciting was you always want to know how a talent will respond to being put in a major angle. And Bianca Belair grabbed the microphone and she announced that, she announced her decision, and boom, you felt like she belonged. You felt like, okay, she belongs in the ring with Sasha Banks. And at this point in time, I can't wait to see the build-up, to see the back and forth, the physicality, the promos. The match, I think, is going to be a no-brainer because Sasha's such a good wrestler. I just hope that Bianca Belair doesn't let the moment get too big, because it's a big opportunity. I wonder if she'll go over. I doubt it, but I think along the way, you have a major opportunity to have Bianca Belair become a star after this match. And so far, that promo on SmackDown was solid.
Yeah, no, it absolutely great, man. I think this match, depending on how things are going to kind of play out, right? I could see this match actually headlining WrestleMania. That's how good they are. I don't think it will, but I could see it happening, right? This is one of those things where, depending on what happens with the WWE Championship, we're going to talk about all of that. Who's going to be up for grabs in contending for that? What's going to happen with Roman Reigns and Edge? That's probably going to be the main event and that big headliner. But right next to that, I could see this match with the ladies. And honestly, I could argue to you, me, myself, I would much rather see these two women go at it than an aged Edge and a Roman Reigns who, look, as good as Roman Reigns' new addition of his character has been, his moveset inside the ring really hasn't changed. It's the same thing. It's going to be a battle of spears between Edge and Roman Reigns, when you could see something much, much better between Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks. I think it should actually headline WrestleMania. And it's not trying to be hyperbolic, and it's not trying to make it out to be a bigger match than what it's going to be. I think it's going to be a fantastic match, and I can't wait to see it. It really, to me, should be the headlining show at WrestleMania. Let's transition over to Monday Night Raw. Now, I did have some issues with Monday Night Raw. I actually had a couple issues with Monday Night Raw. And for me, it was just kind of a nonsensical Monday Night Raw, everything but the main event. So we're going to spend quite a bit of time talking about the main event here. My first big issue was the time clock that they kept bringing up. You had a match going on with Mustafa Ali and Matt Riddle, and this stupid clock kept showing up. So you knew that this match wasn't going to be given the time or day. You knew it was going to end quickly because this clock would pop up and say, hey, 5 minutes until you had The Miz taking on Bobby Lashley for all the marbles here. I don't understand why WWE undercuts what its creative does. And it does it regularly. And it's just little things like this, like putting a clock up, showing how long we have to go. You've got Miz in the background, belly aching. There's just different things that WWE's creative does that really upends what superstars are bringing to the show and the story that they're trying to tell. And I was upset with the clock. You, however, are very upset with what unfolded with the main event when Bobby Lashley ends up defeating The Miz. Thus, Bobby Lashley is our new WWE Champ. So why are you so upset that Miz lost his title? And technically, Miz was just a transitional champion.
Well, when everybody's talking about it and everybody's predicting it as a setup for WrestleMania, I think it might have behooved WWE to maybe swerve everybody and let them at least have until the next pay-per-view after Mania. I mean, here's the reason why. This is an individual that's grinded for your company, has been there, has never left. And bro, this guy's been doing it now damn near 20 years. He started off as an individual, like he said in his promo, where everybody laughed at him within the first 5 minutes, felt like he was going to get fired his first go-round in WWE. He's never had really an issue. He's showed up, done the job, was a champion, and his first run was underwhelming. And so for the better part now of the past 3 years, you've kind of built him up. Haven't you? You've kind of slowly given him personality, brought back his friend, given him primetime access with his own little segment on Raw and SmackDown when he's had the opportunity.
You could make the argument that he has been a corner piece of Monday Night Raw or SmackDown, depending on which show he's on. Generally, it does very, very well with the ratings, and he is a large part of it.
And dude is never hurt. He's always there, showing up month after month, year after year, great angle after great angle. It would have been better off if you just had him keep the money in the bank until WrestleMania, have him cash it in, then lose the next night. If you're going to do it that way, at least let him enjoy a WrestleMania moment. I mean, I know that his WrestleMania match, I believe it was with John Cena, got panned. Many people just don't feel like, he's a top guy. But what does it say? There are moments when a company can devalue you when they give you a belt and take it off you within 2 days. It's a week. So it was just disappointing at the highest levels. And I think for a guy like that, probably changing companies would have been awesome. But I think he's got a great contract. He probably has now a schedule that allows him to do other hosting type stuff. He's a company guy, been there for a while. It's just a matter of pride and respect. I just felt like The Miz should have earned at least 60 days with the belt.
Yeah, so I had a bit of an issue with not so much with him losing. It was the way that they portrayed the character of The Miz in this match. He basically ran around scared the entire time, got no offense in. Bobby Lashley made quick work of him. To me, it was exactly what you do to a transitional champion, and I don't think Miz is the caliber of a transitional champion. He is somebody who deserves better, and I really felt like they should have gave him a little bit better. Now, I did have some issues with what took place after Bobby Lashley won. Bobby Lashley was this is his first time winning the WWE Championship. He was overcome with emotion. He had to suck it all up because you had MVP basically bossing him around and telling him to inflict more pain on The Miz. That was a moment where Bobby Lashley should have been able to just kind of get overcome with his emotions, not necessarily have to stick in character mode, and been able to really enjoy that moment. I felt like it was so rushed. I don't feel like they did a really good service to Bobby Lashley, who really has grinded for such a long time. I mean, early on in his WWE career, he was there for a reason. He was physically imposing. Ends up leaving, goes to Impact, works on quite a bit of stuff. It really figures out how he has to deliver a promo. Comes back to WWE and he's like, "Hey, look, this is what I have to do if you want me to deliver an effective promo. I can't just go out there and talk to the camera. It just doesn't work for me. I have to be talking to somebody. And they end up letting him do that a little bit. It works out much better for Bobby Lashley when he's the muscle and he's got a manager. They give him a manager in MVP, and he really excels, and he exceeds all expectations. And now you put the belt on him. So let him have a moment to really enjoy having his belt. Give him a moment to really enjoy what just took place. This is a guy who's been in the business now for over 20 years, and this is his first time ascending to this level in WWE. And I know we both agree AEW is great, but WWE is still the pinnacle of wrestling. Let this man enjoy what he just spent the last 20 years of his career working towards. To me, it just felt very, very rushed, and I don't think it was necessary. I think you could have given him some time to just kind of embrace it and just kind of be in the moment instead of having MVP boss him around. But how badass for MVP, right? You've got the world champion underneath your belt, and then you've got the tag team champs underneath your belt. MVP's done a fantastic job just coming in and it just being like a one-off segment, really spinning this into what has been an extended part of his career. It's been pretty fantastic, wouldn't you say?
One of the premier stables, man. It's the Hurt Business. I love it. The chief Hurt officer is the world champ, baby. And I think that I mean, what do we say? We said that Bobby Lashley, when he returned to WWE, is just the prototypical looking champion, and he earned the opportunity. And for him too, winning against The Miz on Monday Night Raw, that's what you could have just slowed it down. You could have even just had, a build up. You don't think Miz and Bobby Lashley would have had a nice program? Build it up, weasel, have The Miz just try and weasel out a match after match after match with some loopholes and contract, even have one the night before WrestleMania or the show and have Vince show up. You could have done it so much. You could have worked it in so many, in much more of a unique fashion to have him lose the belt. But hey, he's the champ, and let's see now who's going to step up and be the first victim. And it might be a big name.
I mean, look, neither one of us really would wanted to have seen that match at WrestleMania, but you could have extended that program to WrestleMania. You could have extended that program into Fastlane and really let Bobby Lashley win that at Fastlane. I mean, that's coming up in a couple weeks. There are 1,001 other things you really could have done, and they just didn't do it. And again, it's just WWE creative is sometimes frustrating and sometimes very, very, very confusing. Let's transition over to NXT. A lot of news in the news and notes segment about what's going on with NXT or what could possibly be happening with NXT. So you will want to stick around for that. But I think the big thing that kind of unfolded on NXT was Adam Pearce getting involved. And again, Adam Pearce for the longest time has been the unofficial, official commissioner of Monday Night Raw and SmackDown. He is basically the big boss man of both of those programs, even though nobody's come out and really said he's the commissioner. Nobody's come out and really given him that title. He comes down, gets involved in the Shayna Baszler, Nia Jax, Dakota Kai, and can't remember her name off the top of my head now, but gets involved in the women's tag team match and basically sends a referee down there from I believe it was Raw to go in there and basically submit Dakota Kai. And it's really weird when you have these crossing overs of these powers, because there's something else going on now with NXT, and you already have your own commissioner there. You have Steven Regal there. So my question to you is, how do you see this playing out? Because I think what we're going to get is we're going to get an extended feud here for the SmackDown Women's Championships. And don't be surprised if when it's all said and done, you have gold around two wrestlers from NXT.
Ooh, so you think it's a creative angle, one in which is highlighting the talents of everybody? Who do you think goes over? Because I definitely have been impressed with the women's NXT division in terms of the tag titles and things like that. But I can see where people are like, oh, very interesting in regards to, having the WWE champions take on the NXT champions. I think that Kai and Gonzalez have done a great job.
Yeah, I mean, when it's all said and done, I think it will be Dakota Kai, and thank you. It's Gonzalez, who I think. So Vince is huge on Gonzalez. He's big on her. That was part of the reason that he basically fed Rhea Ripley to her before Rhea Ripley got called up to Monday Night Raw. So he's absolutely huge on her, and he sees big things for her. Dakota Kai, I'm not really sure how she's going to factor into all of this, but the moneymaker is Raquel Gonzalez. So when this all plays out, when it's all said and done, I think Raquel Gonzalez and I think Dakota Kai end up with the tag team championship belts, and you start seeing them cross over onto SmackDown, crossing over onto Monday Night Raw, and running roughshod on NXT. And it's a way to introduce the WWE universe that doesn't watch NXT to Raquel Gonzalez.
Yeah, and see,
I mean,
if you didn't want to go this route, I think you could have kept it going with Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon. That match at the Dusty Classic was pretty good at TakeOver.
I thought it was fantastic too. Like Shotzi Blackheart, I think is really, really underrated. I don't think she gets enough love and attention here. Ember Moon, I'm not really sure what her ceiling is. I think we both agree she's a good wrestler, but I just don't know. She to me is kind of like Roderick Strong, right? Roderick Strong is great at just about everything, right? He's got a good look. He's like Dean Malenko in the ring, right? The guy knows 1,000 holds, knows 1,000 moves, and you know that every time that guy steps in the ring, he's going to give you 100%, and it's going to be pretty damn near flawless. It's going to be pretty great. The guy can cut a good promo. The problem is with the promo, there's a bit of a disconnect there. Same thing with Ember Moon. Ember Moon's great in the ring. Ember Moon's got a really good look. Ember Moon has a really good character. There's a bit of a disconnect there, though. I'm not sure what it is. It's really weird when it happens with wrestlers where they have all the tools. It's just something is lacking. Like you can look at Finn Balor, you can look at Adam Cole, and you know those guys got it. Whatever it is, those guys have it. Roderick Strong doesn't necessarily have it. He's a great hand, but he doesn't have it. Ember Moon, she's a really good hand. She just doesn't have it. I think Shotzi Blackheart has it. Not sure what it is, but I think she's got it. I think her character's weird and I think it's outrageous, but I think she's got it. Something I really love from NXT, though. I love the whole Austin Theory bit where they're in like couples counseling. I don't know, like they ran this thing through the entire show. And I'm not sure how much time you spent watching it because I know how you watch NXT. You watch NXT the same way I do. You watch AEW, you go back and you watch NXT and fast forward for the most part. The Austin Theory couples counseling bit that ran through the whole thing where they were trying to figure out what happened with him and Dexter Lumis. In the end, he runs out of the room screaming and crying. I thought it was fantastic. I thought this was really good character development. I thought this did a really great job with Johnny Gargano. Johnny Gargano was the unsung hero in this. He was the star of this whole thing. And I thought it was absolutely fantastic. I loved it. It was stupid. It was corny. It was a weird bit, but it broke up the entire show and it told a bit of a story. And I loved it. You need that in wrestling, and you got it here. I thought it was fantastic. I'm not sure if you took it in. Did you watch any of the Austin Theory bit?
For some reason, I was uniquely drawn to the couples counseling segment. I'm trying to think of why that, figuring out what was going on was intriguing to me. And if you know the show, you'll get the joke. But I thought it was great. Absolutely. Humor bits are absolutely great. Couples counseling, it's been done on Raw and things like that, sometimes to the detriment of the show. But this was done well because it brought levity to a serious show. And one thing that kind of was brought to me that I saw online that kind of makes sense is that NXT, in regards to the wrestling and the package, is a lot tighter than AEW in terms of the psychology, the wrestling, the bits. It's like, boom, it's seamless. And because it's 2 hours, it comes across as a seamless product where the bits are good, not too many things fall flat. AEW got a little bit of work with some of the undercard talent there in regards to ring psychology and putting together matches. And when you look for it in that way, you start to see it in terms of some of the sloppy kind of boom, boom, boom action that happens on AEW. But NXT, you got to give them credit. Even though they continuously get their butts kicked in the rating, you kind of realize now that it's gone back and you're starting, I believe, to kind of dissipate the talk of third brand. It's not. It's developmental. It's there for what it is. Get the people that need the reps in terms of angles, bits, and quality time on the mic and in the ring. And NXT is delivering week after week. Yeah,
I agree with you. There's something a little bit tighter about their production and their packaging, and it could just be the fact that they've got a little bit more experience doing it, but they do a really good job of intertwining and weaving stories. And with the display of the show, they do a really good job of transitioning between one segment to the next. I mean, we've got LA Knights who, if you watched any Impact years ago, you're going to be in love with this guy because he's a throwback to those days. You have LA Knights now taking on, Bronson Carlson, the big guy. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. but they set up a story here where it was just a random one-off match, but LA Knights ends up costing Bronson the match, and now that's going to be a feud. And it just instantly they told a good story to start something, to get something going here. You know what I'm saying? It's just little things like that. What do you think of Finn Balor and Adam Cole next week? Like this is a pay-per-view quality match, and they're just giving it away for free here.
Yeah, real quickly. I mean, you're talking about the guy that's formerly known as Jonah Rock, real name Jermaine Haley, goes by Bronson Reed in NXT. You know, he was part of the Mighty Don't Kneel stable, you know, back in the day. But yeah, dude's big. Dude's got kind of a look to him, unique, interesting stuff there. I can't wait to see it.
He's one of those big guys that can really move, though. You know how like Keith Lee's a big dude who can get around the ring. Same thing with Bronson Reed. Can get around the ring for sure. I can't
wait to see the match. Is Finn Balor? Are you kidding me? It's going to be an amazing opportunity to see two great wrestlers do their thing.
Yeah, it should be a fantastic match. The fact that they're giving it away for free is crazy to me, but it should be an absolutely fantastic match. I want to get your insights on what took place on Impact this week. Why don't you give us your recap of Impact and what you thought was good, what you thought was bad?
Yeah, absolutely. And women in the main event, I thought was very solid. The journey to Impact Wrestling Sacrifice continued, and you had some things going on with Jordan Grace, Deonna Purrazzo, and Kairi Hogan. It was built up to be something that was going to be special. Unfortunately, when you have the big angle, when you have the big stars get put into a tag team match, and you have teams that you're trying to elevate, they made a big mistake. They dropped the ball. So it really takes it to a C- show. Overall, it was a decent show. Good wrestling, good build-up, but in the 8-man tag team match, you had Good Brothers and Finjuice taking on XXXL and Reno Scum. That is pay-per-view quality. That is something that's like, whoa, this is something that we can see that can be taken a lot of different ways. Unfortunately, it became just a Finjuice and Good Brothers squash match, and it highlighted what everybody knows. It didn't really advance anything, that you basically are going to have the Good Brothers and Finjuice who kind of are starting to hint that they don't like each other or there's some distrust, but it was a big disappointment. I thought that there was an opportunity to potentially elevate Triple XL's credibility, not diminish it by having a squash match. I think that it was a missed opportunity when you have a potential, because they've done a good job. I think all the companies, when they utilize 6-man tags and 8-man tags, they've done a pretty swell job of telling good stories and elevating what they're trying to do. Not in this case, and unfortunately, it brought the show to a kind of a disappointment. You had Edwards defeating Myers via disqualification. That was a good match, which takes us to the main event, which was Jordan Grace and Deonna Purrazzo. I thought it was good. Give them the opportunity. Earlier in the show, you had Tenille Dashwood get a victory, much needed in terms of elevating her. What have we said in past weeks? We felt like the women weren't holding their own, but this week they did. Purrazzo defeated Grace and Hogan in a great match, and I thought that, you know, the feuds that are starting to kick off are very much in line, and I thought that, you know, Deonna Purrazzo, for all that she's done in the past few weeks, culminated, and I thought in a good angle, good story, and I felt like, you know, Deonna Purrazzo ending the show made it for a situation in which we could grade it a C- as opposed to an F, because they really dropped the ball with Triple XL and having the Good Brothers just basically squash them. So good show, but one in which if you missed it, you say, okay, they just kind of had a show that was transitioning them to their next stuff, but they really just got to just find ways to elevate more. The early, you know, the first hour show just has to continue to get tweaked and to get stuff off the ground. But by and large, I can't wait. I think Impact's Sacrifice is going to be something that is going to be a good show when everything gets rounded out, especially with the high end and the championship matches. Oh my Lord. This week, though, they dropped the ball. They made a mistake.
That's sad to hear. Look, Impact has been doing such a good job recently with their storytelling and the stuff that they're putting in the ring. It's been absolutely fantastic. I think they benefit a ton from AEW, and we're going to transition over to AEW here in a second, but it sucks when it's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. You know what I'm saying? So you feel like you're never really making it up any ground.
Yeah, but in a year show, you're going to have 3 to 5 that just don't make sense.
Oh,
Or
for sure.
When you make a decision, you go, oh, okay, we threw these guys together and this is what was supposed to happen. Look, not everybody can shine. I just value the teams, and there's a way to portray losses that can be better. I mean, you could have had a great match and then had, Finn Juice and the Good Brothers. I think that you just got to have the ability to have them split to be proper so you can kick off the feud. So we'll see how it progresses next week. I think they'll rebound, but this week was disappointment.
I mean, look, last week we were talking about AEW doing kind of a ho-hum show. So, I mean, yeah, you're going to have some clunkers in there. It's what it is. Speaking of AEW, I want to know, did this do the job for you as a go-home show? Did it get you excited for Revolution this Sunday?
I think so. I think it was okay. I mean, I was hyped because of the fact that, Paul Wight was going to be there. So you're like, hey, let's see what this guy's going to talk about. And he brought up the old history of being on TNT, breaking news. Shaq was cool. I thought they used him perfectly.
What did you think about Paul White's shirt, though?
No more BS.
No more BS. Big show. Love it. Like it was there was some subtleties there. Hey, look, this show, I thought this was a fantastic show. I really thought it was a really good go home show. And on top of that, there was a lot of finger poking in the chest of WWE throughout this show. You had the Big Show coming out with his T-shirt saying "No more BS," standing for Big Show as well as BS. You also had the Matt Jackson promo where he talks about Chris Jericho being, where would he be right now? He'd be in the Performance Center doing the curtain jerk if it wasn't for the Young Bucks in AEW. So look, I thought this was a really good sell for a show to get you intrigued and to get you hyped for a pay-per-view that's going to be taking place on Sunday, which is different because normally their pay-per-views are on Saturday. This one's going to be on Sunday, and I thought it was a really good show, and you kind of alluded to it, and I cut you off in the middle of it. You did have Paul Wight teasing a big signing for Revolution. So I kind of want to get your take on who you think it's going to be, and I want to get your take on that whole segment.
I have no clue because I've been doing the avoidance of the rumors and the hot stove type shit in terms of the dirt sheets and all that kind of stuff. I've just been enjoying shows just as a fan, and it's great. Because it's so easy. I know everyone that listens is so tempted just to Google who they think it is, and maybe and you could tease it for me. If it's CM Punk, I'll mark out. If it's another WWE star that's been underutilized, I was hoping somehow it would be Cesaro, but, I got a chance to see your notes here, and it's not going to be him. So anybody that it's going to be, I'm going to be surprised, and I can't wait to see it. I would be really shocked, even if we talk about it. I still don't believe it would be CM Punk. It would kick off a massive 2021 if it was him. I think everybody in the wrestling world will stop when it happens. Is this a show that starts at 7 or 8? I got to probably tune into this one.
I think it starts. I think you got your pre-show at 7.
Okay, so 8 o'clock, baby. Yes, I'll definitely be watching. So I can't wait to see who it is. And
so I'm gonna throw a couple names out there real quick.
Is it getting teased? Okay, good. It's getting talked about.
You tell me if you like them or you don't like them. Okay.
Okay.
So this is a guy that we talked about. I want to say it was probably a month ago. He was on Impact. Used to be with WWE. Before that, he was with ECW. Rob Van Dam.
Oh.
Rob Van Dam doesn't have a contract right now. You could make the argument that he could or should be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, thumbs down. That would not be good because of the fact that a little bit older, beyond his prime. I'm looking for somebody a little bit more in the 28 to 40 range in terms of age.
Mm-hmm. I got you. Batista's been heavily rumored.
Ooh.
Like, if you followed anything on Twitter, Batista's been heavily rumored. The thing is, Batista's basically come out and said, no, but that's a perfect smokescreen if you're going to show up on Sunday.
Batista, that would be something if he... Oh, man. But, again, been out of the game far too long. See, you're starting to kind of enter into the realm of, if you go old like that, old WWE...
Does it feel like WCW again?
Exactly. Starting to feel like you kind of could elevate. You could save some money and just elevate the guys you got. It's starting to have that kind of crazy feel like you're just going after guys that you want to kind of revive that have names. You're a company that's pretty much there. You don't need to be doing that. I would give a thumbs down to RVD and Batista, although it'd be cool to see them.
So don't be surprised. Look, Tony Khan last week came out. This was after our show. So it was sometime on the weekend, I believe. Tony Khan came out last week and said that he's interested in bringing Zelina Vega in. I don't think she's the name that they're talking about here, but don't be surprised if she was brought in, if she did show up. We do have a ladies match that's going to take place. Ooh. Part of the reason Zelina Vega wanted to leave was not just the things going on with her OnlyFans account and all of her other different ventures where she was making more money than she was making with her WWE contract. It was also she wanted to wrestle more. She started her career as a wrestler. She didn't want to just be a manager. She wanted to get back in the ring and wrestle. She just got a match. We're going to talk about it here. She could come in, and after whoever wins that match, she could challenge whoever that woman is to catapult right to the top. So Zelina Vega is a possible name that could show up. I don't think that's the name that's being alluded to here. You've already mentioned CM Punk. When you really kind of start to decipher what he said in his promo, this guy who should be a Hall of Famer, no doubt about it. CM Punk should be a Hall of Famer. It's not who you think. To me, CM Punk is so far out of my thought process when it comes to these things because he doesn't ever show up to any of this stuff. He doesn't participate in any of it anymore. If you go and you look at some of CM Punk's Twitter messages and some of his back and forths with different people, CM Punk has basically alluded to, originally the issue was the deal wasn't big enough for him. It needed to be a monstrous cash value deal. And they weren't coming to him with that. It wasn't one of those things. At the time, AEW wasn't in a position of power to be able to do that. They didn't have. It was a young company that really needed to have assets on hand in case things went sideways. At this point, they're a little bit more rooted. They're a little bit more grounded. If CM Punk wanted a massive deal, he could get a pretty good deal from AEW to come in now. Also, he's kind of softened on that, and he said if the creative's right, he would really consider it. So you got to remember, he's boys with all the guys in the Young Bucks. He's boys with Cody. He's boys with a ton of these guys. The case could be made that it could be CM Punk if the creative is right. And if it's him, I think what you've just done is you've solidified AEW, at least for the next 2 years. And you've basically wiped everything else off the planet. If you can get CM Punk to come into AEW, if that's the guy, bonkers, like fireworks, bananas. I'm ripping my clothes off. I'm FaceTiming you, and we're talking about it while my dingus is hanging out.
Here we go, baby. Shaq showed up. What'd you think of him getting stretchered out?
Look, for a big guy who doesn't wrestle, I thought he did a really good job. I thought this was a really good wrestling match. I think what you got here was you had Cody basically doing all the moves, Shaq being in the ring and being the name, and then you allowed the women to highlight themselves. Jade Cargill, she's fantastic. Like she is a beautiful woman. She's got a fantastic body. Like she is built like a brick shit house. You had Red Velvet, who is absolutely fantastic as well. You really highlighted these two women in this match, and they both got the rub off of Shaq and Cody Rhodes. I thought this was as good of a celebrity match as you could have. Shaq going through the tables, it was fantastic. I thought it was great. I thought this is what you needed. This was a really good job of taking a guy and wrestling safe with him, even though he went through a couple tables, and really allowing everybody else in the ring to do their job and really highlight them. I thought it was really, really well. You want to get into some predictions?
Give me the match card. What do we got? Revolution Sunday.
Revolution on Sunday. AEW World Championship. Kenny Omega defends against Jon Moxley in an exploding barbed wire death match. This is Jon Moxley's calling card. If you look at any of his indie stuff, this is his match. Does he come out the victor in this match against Kenny Omega?
No. I think that the Omega era is just beginning, and Kenny Omega is going to win this one.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this is a good way to kind of put the nail in the Jon Moxley, Kenny Omega coffin, allow Kenny Omega to move on to challenge somebody else, maybe somebody from New Japan. I don't think Jon Moxley wins this. Like you said, the Kenny Omega train is just getting revved up. So choo-choo, here we go. We spoke about the women a little bit earlier. AEW Women's Championship. Shida will be taking on, I believe it's Makazawa is her name. Oh man, I just had it up here and I lost it. Look, she's from Japan. There's no way that she's taking the AEW belt. It's going to be Shida winning this match. I'll just save us all the time.
Shida,
all the trouble.
Exactly. The champ is here, and she will retain.
So just a little, just to kind of lift the curtain for everybody. I totally forgot to put the match card on the rundown, so I had to do it. Really quickly. So it's a little bit off. My bad. AEW Tag Team Championship. The Young Bucks defend against the Inner Circle, Chris Jericho and MJF. Who wins this match?
Absolutely the champs. I don't see Chris Jericho and MJF getting the title. The Young Bucks are the favorites. They've had it, and I think that they deserve to keep it.
Yeah, I think the Young Bucks win this too. I'm not sure where we're going with this whole storyline, right? So like you got Sammy Guevara out of there, and I thought this was going to lead to something bigger. At this moment in time, I'm not sure where we're headed with what's going on with the Inner Circle. Because of that, I'm going to go with Young Bucks just because I don't know what's going to happen with the Inner Circle. Now you've got the street fight. You've got Brian Cage and Ricky Stark taking on Darby Allin and Sting in what is his debut AEW match. And pretty much because of that, Sting doesn't lose his debut AEW match. It's going to be Darby Allin and Sting winning this.
Absolutely. I think that is the lock. If there was a gambling lock, you'd put it on Darby Allin and Sting. You would never in a million years have Sting losing his debut. It would be a really, really a terrible way of doing it, unless it was a freak thing and it was Darby Allin getting taking the loss from Cage or Ricky Starks. But I don't see it. I think it's Allin and Sting.
All right, we've got a big money match where the winner of this will take the first quarter earnings of whomever, whether it be Adam Page taking Matt Hardy's first quarter earnings or Matt Hardy, big money Matt Hardy, taking Adam Page's first quarter earnings. Who do you have winning this one?
I mean, I don't see a scenario in which Matt Hardy wins. I think it's a great it's a great feud. Everything's going well with it. The build-up's been solid, but you got to have Adam Page win it.
Yeah, I think Adam Page wins it as well. You've had Matt Hardy really just kind of wrecking everybody in the Dark Order and just trying to kind of stick it to Adam Page. I think Adam Page gets his retribution in this match. Don't be surprised if in the end, when it's all said and done, Adam Page somehow gets evolved or involved or revolved or just ends up in the Dark Order and he's the new de facto leader. Don't be surprised if that happens at the end of all of this. We have the Face of the Revolution ladder match where Cody Rhodes will take on Scorpio Sky, will take on Penta, we'll take on Lance Archer, we'll take on Matt Caster, and we'll take on somebody to be named later for an opportunity to get the TNT title. Now, this TBD, this to be determined, could be whom Big Show was referencing earlier. So, when you go to make your selection, you can pick TBD if you want. Now remember, when we have matches like this, you do get the bonus point if you nail who wins the match. So this match is for 1 point all by itself. So who do you have winning this?
You know what? I'm going to let you go first while I think, because this one's going to be probably the decider. I'm going to see here. There's others too that could be, that could be in the mix here. I want to know your reasoning for who you pick, because I probably will have to go separate, and this will be the big determining factor.
So I'm going to go with to be determined. I think this is a great way you bring in somebody new, a big name. This is a way that you get to introduce somebody. And with the way the Big Show put over whomever this is, it sounds like they are a real deal. It sounds like they are going to draw. And it sounds like it would be a perfect way, depending on if they wanted to do the business, to really help elevate Darby Allin. If it's CM Punk, I mean, Darby Allin, CM Punk, Darby Allin goes over, like he's now a household name if he wasn't ever a household name before, or if it is CM Punk and he wins, I mean, CM Punk should now your TNT title champion. So I think you go with whomever is going to be inserted into this match.
Man, and you said Face of the Revolution ladder match, huh? Cody Rhodes, Scorpio Sky.
Cody Rhodes, Scorpio Sky,
Penta,
Lance Archer, Max Caster.
Man.
Scorpio Sky got a lot of time on the commentary booth this week too, so Scorpio Sky deserves a little bit more. He would have been my second choice for sure.
Wow. And what's the stipulation for the winner? They get a chance to get a title.
They get a chance for the TNT title.
Could the face that runs the place? Could the TBA win it all? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say that title's been with Cody Rhodes, so I'm going to go with Cody Rhodes. I'm going to go.
All right, that sounds good.
You willing to go with, since you took TBA, you willing to go with the field? I get the field, you get TBA?
So you get
I get
six.
Like
6 guys.
I
get like whomever that one guy is.
Yeah, because it's somebody we don't even know. I mean, because it's unknown.
No.
You just
Like if one of us is going out on a huge limb here, it's me because we have no idea who this guy is. It could be Marco Stunt for all we know.
All right, it could be anybody. So can't wait to see who it is. Yeah, doesn't have to be the person debuting too as well. But all right, you took the chance, you gambled. I'll take Cody Rhodes. You got the to be determined, and this one will probably determine what's going to happen on this card. Good stuff, sir. Really.
Hold on, we've got 3 more matches.
3 more? Oh my gosh, I looked at the card. Oh yeah, Miro. I'm like Casino Tag Team Royale pre-show. Okay, hurry up, let's go through it.
All right, so Miro, Kip Sabian, Orange Cassidy, Chucky Taylor. We're gonna go Orange Cassidy, Chucky Taylor.
Yeah, I agree with you.
All right, Casino Tag Team Battle Royale is like, I don't even know who's in this. Is Private Party in this?
Yeah, I don't even know either. That's what I'm saying. That's what I have it on my sheet is Casino Tag Team Royale. I was hoping you'd tell me who it was.
We'll skip that. I don't even know who's in that.
Me neither.
Then we've got Rio and Thunder Rosa versus Dr. Britt Baker and Rebel. I'm gonna go Rio and Thunder Rosa.
Okay. I'm gonna go the opposite just in case. I'm gonna go Britt Baker and Rebel.
Okay. Sounds good. You want some news and notes?
Absolutely. Hit me with this week's professional wrestling news and notes. And before we get to it, we're still tied at the moment. So
we're tied 2-2.
Yeah, we're still tied
2-2.
So we can take an opportunity here if you give you a lead if I butchered this. But hit me with this week's professional wrestling news and notes.
All right, so big report coming out Tuesday that has picked up a lot of steam later this week is the possibility of NXT moving to Tuesday nights. At this point, it sounds like it's all but a done deal. NXT will now be on Tuesday nights. So it will go SmackDown on Fridays. It'll go Monday Night Raw on Mondays, and then it will go NXT on Tuesdays. And a lot of this has to do with slipping ratings to AEW. It's a monster contributing factor. They just got blown out last night. I think it was like 936 to 612.
Wave the white flag. Wave the flag. Wave the flag.
Pretty much. And then you've got, to factor in, you've got NBC planning to shut down NBCSN and basically moving all their live events and transitioning those over to the USA Network. So speculation is NBC wants to kind of open up those Wednesday nights for NHL hockey games because Wednesday night is basically been a staple of NBCSN. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Now, Randy Orton and T-Bar got into a not-so-safe-for-work Twitter beef with Soulja Boy when the rapper called out WWE for being fake. Some of the highlights include, and I implore you to go find Randy Orton's Twitter feed and read through some of this. Highlights include Orton calling Soulja Boy nothing but a bitch ass, as well as challenging his rap career, tweeting, "Crank That came out in 2007. You had a hell of a year. Serious. Hats off to you, my dude. Here's the thing, though. I like rap. I bump that shit all day, whether it's Tunchi, Meek, Jay-Z, but you call what I do to survive fake? Fuck that. Come to my world and say that. Dare ya." And following up with, "Pawn that cheap-ass chain and come work for it. You one-hit wonder-ass motherfucker." Randy Orton goes so hard on Twitter. Dude will RKO you from out of nowhere for sure. Now, Mustafa Ali, in a recent Q&A, revealed he is working with a torn PCL. Now, if you don't know, this is the ligament that basically crosses over the ACL, and it's located deep within the knee. Basically allows your knee to kind of flex backwards and not basically bend all the way backwards. So he's dealing with a bit of an injury. In contract news, this is where you mentioned Cesaro, who would have been a fantastic pick for the to-be-determined athlete in the AEW match. In contract news, Chelsea Green and Cesaro both signed extensions to stay with WWE. Now, speaking of Cesaro, Sheamus credited him with saving his career. Sheamus said he was ready to hang it all up until that best-of-7 match, which ended up leading to the formation of The Bar. If you remember that, I think it was like 3 years ago we had that. And it was because of that them two getting paired together really helped save Sheamus's wrestling career. Now, some speculation on who will be taking over WWE in the future. Dave Meltzer discussed that Shane McMahon may be getting his MBA, as he revealed on Raw last night, to prepare himself to take over his father's company. Maybe he wants to run the company. The only one thing why Triple H can't run the company is because he doesn't have the degree. I remember years ago when we were talking about the succession plan, I was talking with one of the minority owners of the company, and it's like, what happens if Vince dies? The whole thing is like, it can't be Paul, a.k.a. Triple H, because he doesn't have the MBA. That's really weird. Shane did run his own company. Now, he ran it into the ground, and he was unbelievably unsuccessful with that Chinese pay-per-view company, but sometimes, as we've seen many times in wrestling, being an absolute, complete, and total failure at your job gets you higher than somebody who's never had the experience, even though they're like 10 times smarter than you at the same type of job. So really interesting commentary from Dave Meltzer there on Shane McMahon possibly taking over WWE in the very, very near future. In some sad news, Jim Crockett ended up passing away at the age of 73. Jim Crockett passed away Wednesday morning is when it was announced. Jim Crockett ran a bunch of promotions in the Carolinas, as well as Jim Crockett Promotions, which he then sold to Ted Turner. And if you are a recent wrestling fan, that then became WCW, which WWE eventually bought. I did a really bad job of promoting this earlier in the show. Kind of wanted to get into everything because we had a jam-packed show. Tentatively, next week on this very program, we will give you the review of the AEW pay-per-view. And then we are going to give you, hopefully, if everything works out correctly, a nice little interview with an up-and-coming wrestler from Impact. So you're gonna wanna tune in next week for some really good insight as to what it's like to be a young up-and-coming wrestler and working for Impact Wrestling. That's it for this week's news and notes, bro.
Make sure you follow Adam on Twitter for all great news in the world of wrestling and Detroit sports at AdamRSTROZ. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast. Thank you guys so much for subscribing. Anywhere you listen to your favorite podcast, all you do, type in Detroit Sports Podcast, and all our content will find you. Our podcast comes to a close. Man, good week of professional wrestling, revolution, good things ahead, cuz. Can't wait to break it all down on the next episode of the Doc and Jock Wrestling Podcast.